On this episode, Ben gives a field report from Southern Illinois University. We also cover the Derecho that devastated the landscape in Iowa and Illinois on Monday, and most people affected are still without power. If you are interested in Enlist E3 or LibertyLink GT27 soybeans, Joe encourages you to meet with your Merschman Seeds Dealer as soon as possible to order your seed.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Cup of Joe, Season 3, Episode 3. Today it's Turk and I. Tommy's off. Ben's out in the field. And I think we'll just start off with Ben. Ben's at Southern Illinois University at a field day. So, Ben, give us your live report.
Hey, Turk and Joe. We're going to give you an update from down here in Southern Illinois. We're actually at the Southern Illinois University research plot. We had the opportunity to take 12 to 14 dealers through some training down there. They have the entire full season option of LGT27s and Enlist soybeans this year. They even have some of our brand new products that we are going to be looking at for selling a year from now. So I had some opportunity to get into some of those bean fields and look at what they looked like. Really good things coming out of that plot. Southern Illinois University did an excellent job. Greg Davidson, our sales manager from that area, set that plot up, and I was really excited to be able to get down and look at that. I also had the ability the day before to check out, we had another plot that Jonathan Ayer had in northern Kentucky. Crops look really good down in northern Kentucky. The corn looks excellent. They got a little bit of disease pressure, southern rust and stuff coming in. But Jonathan had an excellent plot, an excellent field day, some of the best ice cream we've ever had. So I was really excited to be able to go down to that plot as well. They also had a plot. Jonathan had a couple plots down there, but one of the plots was partnered with LG. LG had some check strips where they didn't have either Saltro or Levo treated beans. And sudden death was showing up in every single one of those check strips and in some of the border rows. And I just wanted to let you know that we're seeing sudden death pop up through our entire soybean growing belt. We've had plenty of moisture. That's one of the key things that you're going to have is the moisture, excess moisture, and the beans pulling up the toxin that the sudden death we had talked about last week. We're seeing that across the entire soybean belt. Saltro has been holding its own. We're not seeing near as much pressure, if any pressure at all, in those areas. I think next year is going to be a really, really big year for Saltro. So if that's something that our viewers need or want, definitely get that ordered on your seed order that you place here shortly. So that was an extremely awesome trip. I got to look at beans in Southern Illinois, Northern Kentucky, Southern Missouri in the past couple days. Lots of road tripping. I was also in Shell Rock, Iowa at the beginning of the week. In that plot in Shell Rock, there were actually our entire lineup on the LGT27 and Enlist side for our early season varieties in Shell Rock. So we ended up being able to drive through. We beat the storm on Wednesday when it came through, ended up driving back through, but that plot looks amazing. They stripped it out and in Shell Rock, they had Saltro and standard treated beans in that plot. The Saltro is holding up extremely well. We are seeing sudden death start to sprinkle through. It's going to come in. We're going to have some excellent photos to show the advantages of Saltro from that plot that we will be able to use in our advertisements and stuff and show our viewers and listeners on that. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. Got to see a lot of crops. It's really fun to get out and meet all of our dealers and all of our new dealers and see the increased demand for Enlist E3 soybeans. We get to talk about the herbicide programs. And it's just a really exciting time for Merschman Seeds right now, being able to offer growers the elite germplasm, the highest yielding products that are available out there at excellent prices, and to know that we have supply to handle all of this increased demand. So I'm going to let it go back to you guys in the Cup of Joe room. Thanks for letting me put my 2 cents in here, and we'll be seeing you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate the update. Let's go over to Turk. Turk, this was a very, very unusual week. Last week you said, if I remember correctly, you said, the crop looks so good, you need to get out there and take some pictures. Why, did you predict that we were going to have this storm in Iowa? I mean, literally when you said that, a few days later, devastation hit.
Well, Joe, I did say it's as good as it's going to look. Get out and take those pictures. no, I didn't have a premonition that this was going to happen, but gray hair tells me that whenever things look really, really good, be on the lookout for something that's going to change that. So unfortunately, the Derecho come through and covered, it was 70 miles wide and almost 700 miles long, all across Iowa and much of Illinois, parts of even Nebraska is where, and South Dakota is where it kind of got to going. But yes, it was devastating for anybody that was in that path, and it's even hard to imagine how bad that is. 70 miles wide and 100. I heard last night that there was one confirmed case of 144 mile an hour wind someplace. So it's you can't even imagine that. I mean, it just cleaned the landscape basically in those areas. Grain bins are gone throughout that period, or that whole area. I mean, it's going to be very devastating for the farmers in there. And so the corn is flat, obviously, in every situation, pretty much within that band. And the soybeans are laying down. The soybeans will probably stand back up a little bit. Yeah, everything's going to be hard to combine. It's going to be a really, really tough, long fall for anybody that was in that section.
And we had one of our seed growers. He's got over 1,000 acres of production right in the midst of it. That morning he had 23 bins, and at the end of the day he had 6 bins. Obviously his corn's devastated, but it looks like soybeans are going to be there. But anyhow, it's definitely really, really bad. And then not only that, but the towns and cities lost power, trees. I know a truck came down. We're about 80 miles from Cedar Rapids. A truck came down to one of our local small engine chainsaw shops and picked up every chainsaw they had, every generator they had, and headed back north. And in fact, chainsaws and generators were sold out with it. So it looks like about a 100-mile radius around some of these areas. Everybody, trying to figure out, how to get their roof or shingles back on, it's just a mess. It's nothing this big has ever hit Iowa. In fact, they're saying 1/3 of all acres in Iowa have been damaged in some fashion. Now, locally here, we had very strong wind, but not enough to do damage. In other words, it was a little bit scary, but nothing blew down. A little tangled corn, a little bit of tangled soybeans, but nothing that we can't handle. But this is going to factor into that market. They're talking, 1 billion bushel potentially lost in Iowa now, which is maybe 3 bushels off the national yield. Yep. So, and then of course the report this week said a lot more prevent plant in the Dakotas. So we saw a little jump in the market on Thursday.
Huge numbers in that preventive planting thing. Unexpected numbers in there for that. But like you said, mostly in that North and South Dakota areas where that was. They actually did increase the exports for soybeans a little bit, which is surprising again for everybody. But China did come into the market this week and this past week. This past week, China bought more soybeans than in any time since 2016 in 1 week, and so they are buying. They are basically the savior for the soybean market. We were looking at huge record yields across the board. It was as good as it ever looked in almost all areas of the country. So this is a setback, but USDA is still thinking that we're going to export more beans than they thought.
This is going to be interesting how this all plays out. And of course, they're not factoring some of these losses into the market yet because they want to see if any of that corn does come up. Obviously, if it's snapped, there's nothing there. But if it's leaned over, will it stand back up? Will they be able to harvest some of it? And that's the thing. But, weather forecast next week looks like it's going to be cool and sunny. They're not talking any significant rains. So John Felt, our weather forecaster, I remember watching his long-range forecast 2 weeks ago. He said looks like cooler front was coming in week 2, and that looks like that's going to happen. So that will keep the crop on schedule. And locally here, we're, like I said, okay, and our seed production's fine. But I think this is a year that you don't mess around too long to get your inputs, particularly on soybeans and corn, because this will have some impact on supply.
Yes, it
in
will.
some fashion.
And that corn, Joe, it will stand. I know it looks really, really bad right now, but it will stand back up. That corn plant wants to right itself in with the world, and it'll start putting out brace roots from even the second and third node up, and start on one side of that plant, and you'll see brace roots a foot long pushing that plant back up. And so again, at least you can get your snoots under it, but you're going to have to deal with all those brace roots that are going to be trying to push it back up, no matter which direction. If it's across the rows, it's really bad. If it's with the rows, at least it's a little better. But it's going to be a really long fall. But the good news is farmers are very resilient, and they all work together. Right now, everybody's trying to just get things cleaned up and get electricity restored, get buildings, be able to try and get back to some sense of normalcy, which isn't going to happen for years in anybody that's affected in those areas.
Yeah, so I know some of the areas in Cedar Rapids, they said the earliest they would have power is today, Saturday. So I know we sent a couple generators up to some folks that have ties to West Point, trying to maintain their refrigerators and freezers, and just getting gas up there. I mean, people were having to drive 100 miles out of the zone to get gas, and you don't know how bad things can get real quick. We have to be thankful. We complain about a lot of things, but when you lose your home or your crop or your bins, that's a tough thing to handle.
So the rural folks are being told it'll be at least another week for sure.
Wow. So
they'll be out without electricity, some folks for over 2 weeks. So, and of course, a lot of the rural folks have generators and are able to get by. They got welders. They got something that they can help get a little comfort from. But it's tough.
Well, one thing's for sure: Midwest people ain't going to sit around and wait for the government to take care of it. They're going to go out and fix it up.
That's right.
They're going to clean it up and get it done. And 2 weeks from now, you'll be surprised at how things are going to change. So. Well, our hearts go out and prayers go out to those families affected, and we hope that it all turns out, and we'll keep an eye on this, what it does to the crop, how it affects the markets. But, it's one of the best crops we've seen in a while, so it doesn't blink of an eye, it can be gone. So anything else for us, Turk?
Well, it is election season, so you can expect that there's going to be something coming that's going to, help farmers and with everything that's going on. I know South America is talking about putting some tariffs on the ethanol industry, and Trump come right back and said if they do, he'll level the playing field. So I expect that we'll see some things that'll help farmers and agriculture in general come out of this election season. We always do every year.
Yeah, it's something good always comes out of something bad. So let's hope something good shows up pretty quick, because we've been needing it. Mm-hmm. Anything else for us?
Nope, that's all I got, Joe.
Well, the only thing I have is, as we set our pricing and we've got our seed guides out, our advertising starting, and orders are starting to come in, and I encourage farmers, if they are definitely interested in Enlist E3 or LibertyLink GT27, get with your Merschman dealer as soon as possible and place that order. You'll get it. There'll be no problem. But we do anticipate that looks like there's going to be a switch from the Extend trait or even potentially Extend Flex to LibertyLink GT27s and Enlist E3. So the more efficient we can do the ordering, the more efficient we can produce it. That keeps costs down for everybody. And at the end of the day, I know farmers have to pinch pennies to make a profit in these conditions. So take advantage of our early discounts that we have and place your order, and we'll start producing it. to end up, I'm going to tell you this. We all like lawyer jokes, because it's one of those professions that that we like to kid around with. But a guy walks into a post office one day, and he looks and he sees a middle-aged man standing at the counter, methodically placing love stamps on bright pink envelopes with hearts all over them. Then he takes out a bottle of perfume and starts spraying scent all over them. Well, the guy seeing this, his curiosity got to him. He says, asks the man, he says, what are you doing? And the guy says, well, I'm sending out 1,000 Valentine cards signed Guess Who? The guy says, why would you do that? And the other guy responds and says, I'm a divorce attorney. Well, anyhow.
That's probably a true story.
It could be a true story. I don't think so. But anyhow, I don't think we have to worry about it either. So, but anyhow, we want everybody to be safe from the virus, and we hope that you and your family continue to do well, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.